We'll be lifting up 22 through 32. Once you found it, please say amen. Amen. You're still looking for us to get on. Amen. As the Bible declares, I'll be reading from the New International Version, Genesis 32. I'll be lifting up the 22nd verse. We'll read down through the 32nd verse. We'll be lifting up certain things in this passage that I think will be pivotal for understanding as well as direction and where God is taking us. Verse 22 says, that night Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, his 11 sons, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone. And the man wrestled with him till daybreak. When the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, so that his hip was wrenched as he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go, for it is daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. The man asked him, what is your name? Jacob, he answered. Then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why do you ask my name? Then he blessed him there. So Jacob called the place Penuel, saying, it is because I saw God face to face, and yet my life was spared. Then the sun rose above him. The sun rose above him as he passed Penuel, and he was limping because of his hip. Therefore, to this day, the Israelites do not eat the tendon attached to the socket of the hip, because the socket of Jacob's hip was touched near the tendon. We're going to talk about possessing the land. We're going to deal with a number of different things, but we're going to also just deal with checkpoint part 3. This will be my part 3, all right, 2 checkpoints. Amen. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for this word, and we bless you for this word. Let it fall upon good ground. And Father, we ask that our hearts are pliable and that we're receptive and make this word applicable in our lives. In Jesus' name that we pray. Amen and amen. It was a joyous week that I had on this week because I had an opportunity on last weekend to get some rest and go out to West Palm Beach and plant a church, which is so my heart's desire. As an apostle, I truly love pioneering and planning and going forth what God has called me to go forth to do. So going into the weekend, knowing that I was going to spend the weekend in West Palm Beach, we were excited, we were grateful, and to be with friends and family was a joyous event. And as I was out there, we had such a good time, going to the hotels, eating, and just all that great stuff. But preparing to go is always pivotal, especially when you fly, because you have to make sure that when you're flying nowadays that you have the right things at the right size, because you can't take everything with you when you fly. They have what's called TSA. And TSA has a checkpoint in every airport. And as you go through TSA, you have to literally almost strip, take almost everything off, take everything out. So it's always, smart to do your due diligence to make sure that when you travel light enough, and you travel properly prepared, so that as you're going through TSA, you don't have to leave anything behind. So me, myself, always wait till the last minute to pack. I do some stuff in the bag, amen, and I'm ready to go, excited, not thinking about, actually what I needed. I buy stuff once I get there, but I didn't have it. But I put 2 bottles of water in my bag, amen. I knew that, being on the flight, I would be thirsty, going through the airport, I didn't want to pay $7 for a bottle of water, amen. So I threw some bottles of water in there. So me and my wife were all excited. We get dropped off at the airport, say bye to the kids, and we walking through. We had already did the pre-check-in, so we didn't have to stop at the kiosk or anything like that. So I'm just walking. I'm just excited. I'm like, man, I need to get away. Can't wait to get to the sunshine, the palm trees, and get out there and eat some good seafood. Just all excited about where I was going, because I knew it was going to be a great weekend. So we get all the way through. I show my ID. They, take us on through, and take off my shoes, take off my belt. put out my phone, I'm abiding to everything that they're telling me. Like, you got anything in your bag, if you got anything in your pockets, empty that stuff out. And I'm like, I'm cool. This is going to be a breeze. I'm like, A-okay. So we do all of that, and then my wife is like right behind me, so I go in. You got to, kind of stand in that thing, and that thing revolves around you. I'm like, I don't have a metal place in my head, I don't have metal knees or nothing like that. I'm good. I've done everything that they've asked me to do. I relieve myself of anything that would be harmful or a threat to transition from, Richmond to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. All right, so then I go through. It was like, sir, you're good to go. You're fine, but what you're carrying, has something in it. And I'm like, there's nothing in my bag. I made sure that my deodorant was small enough, my lotion was small enough, and everything was in its proper place. I forgot about the bottles of water, so I'm a little bit bothered. Y'all know how y'all do. I love this from y'all. Y'all know how y'all do. You feel that you're right about a thing. You know what I mean? You feel a little, pigeon chest. You started to stick your chest out a little bit. So I was like, excuse me, no, I'm A-okay with, everything that I'm carrying, everything in my bag. It was like, absolutely not, sir. Can you please step over here? Now, I'm embarrassed. You know what I mean? I'm embarrassed because I'm like, why are you bothering me? This is all Donald Trump fault. I'm just mad, I'm angry. And then I was reminded that I placed something in my bag that was illegal to cross over. And a lot of times in our life, and a lot of times in our walk, it's not us that's the problem. Because the first thing I took offense to was that it was me. When warfare comes a lot of times in our life, we take ownership to it as if God is mad with us, as if we've done something wrong. It might not be you, but it might be what you're carrying. Might be something that's not even harmful to you on one side, but it's harmful to you on the other side. And as you go through certain checkpoints in your life, you have to understand that you are not the governing force to the checkpoint. Because you will give yourself the least path of resistance, meaning you will govern yourself as easy as you can. You will make exceptions and excuses for you to transition over from one place to another. But when God has an assignment on your life to do more than just what your local region or locale can offer, you're going to have to go through checkpoints that are going to alleviate you of what you're carrying. The Bible declares, and it speaks about it in the book of Numbers, and it speaks about it all throughout the Old Testament, how God had promised the children of Israelites Canaan. And he promised them Canaan, and they sent spies into Canaan, and out of the 12 spies that they sent into Canaan, 10 of them came back. And out of the 10 that came back, they said that we can't go into it because there are giants in the land. And there's things in the land that we can't handle. There's things in the land that are too big for us, and we are as grasshoppers in their sight. But Caleb and Joshua came back and said that we are able to possess this land. We are able to go into this land as an inheritance as well as promise of what God has spoken over us. Now, the Bible also declared that as the 40 years transition of the people of God surrounding the mountain in the wilderness, as they went around that mountain for 40 years, the Bible declares that God said everybody from 20 years old or older, you are going to have to die before you are allowed to go into the promised land because of your unbelief. So the checkpoint was the mountain. What could not transition over was unbelief. It wasn't the people's fault who believed. They believed they did their part. But it was who they were associated with, who they were connected with, who they walked with that God had a problem with. The Bible declares that he said anybody from 20 years old or older are going to have to die out before you go in. You will not step foot into the place of promise. 40 years represents a change of generation. So that means he had to literally wait for people to die. How could it be that I've done everything that I'm supposed to do, but who I'm with is not supposed to go where I've been called to go? And I've got to wait for them to die for me to get there.
My God.
It will make you choose your friendships appropriately. It will make you quarantine who's in your life and who's in your circle. I won't be afraid to let somebody go if I know you're not assigned to my next level of my tomorrow. If I know from Jump Street that you are an unbeliever and unbelieving you won't possess the promised land, I'm going to distance myself from you. It's funny how in this day and time we will pledge our allegiance to friendships more than we'll pledge our allegiance to the covenant of God. And when the covenant of God is under strain or under stress because of friendships, we'll find ourselves compromising for the sake of being alone. The text tells us this morning that Jacob had wives. He had 2 female servants. He had 11 sons that crossed the ford of Jabbok. And after he had sent them across the stream, he sent over all his possessions. So Jacob was left alone. The first thing that you have to understand that in this walk, you're going to have to go alone. It will not be a walk where you'll be able to go through and everybody will pass through with you, but you're going to have to be able to identify in your life who's assigned to process with you. And a lot of times we treat this thing like it's that open door that when you walk up to it, it just opens up for you. And it's actually not. It's that revolving door. It's that circular door. And 2 of y'all can't fit in there and scramble around. And only one of y'all can go through at one time. And you need to understand when God begins to process you, He's processing you. You don't have to be deep. You don't need no Greek. You don't need no Hebrew. I said it again. If He begins to process you, He's processing you. So the burden that falls on you might not fall on your brother. It might not fall on your sister. It might not fall on mama. It might not fall on daddy. It's on you. And you're going to have to make a decision of whether you're going to carry the baggage or the things in your baggage that are legal to your promised land, or you're going to rid yourself and let that stuff go and continue your journey. The TSA person or agent, he asked me such a pivotal question that I didn't even understand. I never had this question asked to me before. He said, did you want to keep your water? I thought it was a trick question. You mean, do I want to keep my water? I have paid for these tickets. You know, I didn't get the insurance on these tickets, so I mean, we got to go on this trip, and they're not going to get my money back. I'm too vested in. I'm too committed. Listen to me, there was no plan B. There was no assurance that if this don't work, I can always go back. I'm going forward, and that's the only thing that I can do. Sometimes when you have a plan B, you can kind of haphazardly go and commit yourself. When you got a plan B, you can kind of just think about it, and if it don't work, you can resort back. But most of the time, when God gets you alone, He's trying to separate yourself from your plan B. Because mama is your plan B, your friends are your plan B, and you'll pledge your allegiance and make them rivals before God. Because if God doesn't do it in the time frame that you want it done, you'll just run over here, and you'll just try this over here. But God is trying to sabotage with every idol that's in your life and try to mature you to a place that you're willing to go alone. The TSA agent asked me, do you want to keep your water? Thought it was a trick question. Thought he was being facetious. But I had to answer that question appropriately. Do I want to hold on to what I'm carrying that's illegal for me to transition? Or do I want to cross over into the place where God's called me to go? If I'd have said, yes, sir, I want to keep my water, I would have had to turn back and go home. If I said, yes, sir, that's valuable to me. I want to hold on to that. I don't want you to pour that out. You know, I don't want you to discard that. I want to keep that. I would have forfeited where I was called to go for the possession that I was carrying. It's one thing to throw away water. I could throw this mic. It's another thing to throw away your favorite perfume. It's one thing to throw away lotion that's too big. But when God requires for you to throw away your identity of who you used to be, when He requires you to throw away how you used to behave and how you used to think. I mean, I was fine with throwing away the water because I had already verified identity. I had already showed who I was. But when God begins to pressure you and deal with you, and He begins to challenge you at your core and begin to try to change you from the inside out, are you willing to let go who people said that you were? Jacob was a betrayer. He was a supplanter. His name meant one who manipulates. He was known to get over on people. He was known to supplant. Supplanter is one who manipulates them. One is conniving. One that is deceitful. That was his name. The Bible declares that he had many possessions, 2 wives and female servants and all of these sons. And he had to send a barrage of people just to bring his possessions back. He had to send a whole army of people to bring his stuff back. Sounds like to me that his identity was built into stuff. We know from birth he was a manipulator. We know that he had family issues and Esau was out to kill him because he had manipulated Esau out of his birthright. We understand that he betrayed his own family and that was a part of the family business. We understand that it came down through the bloodline. That in his bloodline there was manipulation and it failed on him. But he had heaped up so many possessions and so much stuff that a lot of times when you have those type of things and it's built up around you, you begin to base your identity off of it. And when you begin to base your identity off of it, the only thing God can do to bring a sobriety to your life is have you to come to a place where it's just you and him. See, that's why some of us can't pray the way that we need to pray. That's why some of us are not seeking God the way that we need to see God. That's why some of us are so easily offended by people. You understand that the pressure of heaven will bring such a weight into your life. There's nothing that a person can do that can offend you or bother you. You'll never be checked in your spirit by man the way that God checks you, because he'll have you alone in the season. He'll have you by yourself in the season. And when you start to confront the creator of all things, this little sticks and stone little stuff won't bother you. You'll realize that I'm carrying something that's not assigned to go with me. I need to let this hurt go. I need to let this offense go. It's not my brother. It's not my sister. They said in the old church, it's me, oh Lord. I'm standing in the need of prayer. Mine was a water bottle. Yours might be a person. Mine was a water bottle. Yours might be your identity. Who you used to be. How you used to behave. How you used to act. And listen to me. You can cycle around that mountain as long as you want. You can continue to go around cycles. Circle around. Move. Activity with no progression as long as you want. But sooner or later, you're going to have to deal with the reality. I need to be spending more time with God. And running from the presence. I've been trying to do everything else. I love the glitz and the glamour. I love the party. I love the good times. I love Sunday morning. But at the end of the day, I've become a spiritual junkie. Sunday morning has become my fix. Because I'm afraid to be alone with God. Because if I'm alone with God, he will begin to deal with me about myself. It's easy for me to blame somebody else. It's easy for me to point the finger at you and say, you're the problem for what I'm going through. This is why God needs to remove your idols and your stuff and those things that you have built up around you to protect you from him. The Bible says that he was left alone. When he was left alone, it says a man wrestled with him till daybreak. Here's the crazy thing. When the man saw that he could not overcome him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip so that his hip was wrenched and he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go for it's daybreak. Here it is that sometimes we will fight harder to keep our old man alive than we will for who God's called us to be. We've attached it only to where God's called us to go. No, it's about who you've been called to be. And Jacob was overpowering at this place in the text an angel, a supernatural being. He was literally overpowering him to the point that the angel had to cheat. He had to cheat just in order to gain strength against a man. We know angels. We know angels descended from heaven and they were intimate with women and made giants. We know angels to be messengers of God. I've never seen in scripture where an angel was handled by a man. We know angels to be killers. We know angels to come and kill and just, send fire and do all of these things. Nowhere in the text has it ever been recorded that an angel had a problem dealing with a human. But so you got to understand the type of human that manifests when your alter ego is who you believe that you are. You got to understand the fight that people put in to be who they ain't never been called to be. You got to understand the resistance and the barrage of covering and trying to hide out and trying to remove themselves when you start to deal, but that's not who you are. That's not who God's called you to be. I understand this and I understand that. The first thing that they're going to do is get you. You got to understand the fight that this thing requires. We celebrate 9 years. Thankful to God for it. This has been a fight. Journey full of war. And I wish I could say it's all been Jezebel. That'd have been easy. I wish I could say it's all been Ahab and Absalom and all of the characters of the Bible that are so easy to identify as problems. No! These were the people of God who had no clue that the purpose that God had for them was all based off of them shedding their old man. Scripture tells us, dying to your old self. And the reason why it's foreign and French to most is because they don't endeavor to read the Word of God enough to know that this is a part of the process. So because they don't know this is a part of my process, and I got to die to my old self and die to my own ways, and I can't do this in holiness, and I can't do this in promised land, I'd rather abort the mission. Give me my water, I'm going home. So many people in the analogy and example that I gave you today, me going to TSA, chose the war. My wife couldn't come and vouch for me and say anything. Nobody else could come in and step in and say, hey, he's okay, he's who he says he is, and this, you know it's for. It's harmless. No, it's not about being harmless or not. It's about alleviating that thing from you if you want to go where God's supposed to go. The angel began to wrestle with Jacob. As he began to wrestle with Jacob, it wasn't about what the angel was carrying to give to Jacob. It was about who that angel was to Jacob. And that angel to Jacob was like, social service? What vital statistics. It was an angel that represented vital statistics. Because the purpose of that angel in that wrestling match was to change Jacob's identity. It's a sad thing when heaven gets sick and tired of you being your old self. If you fight to try to stay the same, he's trying to change you and make you new. The whole purpose of the angel was because heaven got sick and tired of Jacob being a manipulator. He had purpose, he had destiny, he had calling, but it was all warped, it was all perverted based off of what people thought that he was. He began to believe it to the point where his possessions were more important than his future. How is it that you crossed over, sir, but then you sending people back to go get what's yours? Do you not know that if you go back, you don't qualify for your future? I know that sounds simple, but the truth of the matter is sometimes mentally you go back. Sometimes emotionally you go back. That's why it's hard to shape certain things in your life because you're too busy in 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. The Bible declares that the angel and Jacob wrestled and wrestled and wrestled, and Jacob didn't open his mouth. The angel spoke first and says, listen to me, watch this, let me go. You're winning right now. It was because Jacob's attention was not based on his future, it was based off of saving what was coming from his possessions. Saving his old identity, saving who he thought he was. Listen to what the text says. At 25, it says, when the man saw that he could not overpower him, he touched the socket of Jacob's hip, and that his hip was wrenched, and he wrestled with the man. Then the man said, let me go, for it's daybreak. But Jacob replied, I will not let you go unless you bless me. Then the man asked him, what is your name? Jacob, he answered. Then the man said, your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Jacob said, please tell me your name. But he replied, why did you ask my name? Then he blessed him then. Listen to me. The blessing didn't come when he just changed his name. The blessing didn't come when he got a new identity. The purpose of the whole wrestling match was to introduce Jacob to his new self. Could it be that God is taking you through some seasons in your life to introduce you to your new self? Yes. And the reason why it's been so difficult and hard is because you haven't adjusted the thermostat of your life to be able to embrace the new you. I used to tell people this all the time, and I'll say it to you this morning. Stop seeing everybody else in the picture of your future and begin to put yourself in the future. Heaven had got me so sick and tired that he sent the angel. Jacob sat up there and said, listen, what is it that you want? Now, I'm sorry, the angel said, what is it that you want? Let me go. Day is break. Jacob said, what is your name? He says, you don't even know my name, but I'm going to give you a new name. The angel told Jacob, your name shall no longer be Jacob. You shall be no longer known as a manipulator. You shall be no longer known as a supplanter. You shall be no longer known as a deceiver. You shall no longer be known as a sinner. But I'm going to give you a new name. And this name will be Israel. I want to give you a name that represents that you have wrestled with God, that you have contended with God, that you have contended not just with God, but you contended with human and public opinions and what people have to say and Facebook statuses and Twitter statuses. You have contended with the earthly realm and the spiritual realm. And here's the fact of the matter. Through all of your contending and your fighting, you have overcome. You have still stand. How about this? God can see some qualities in your old man that will carry over into your new life. The one thing that people knew Jacob walked by was not what the greatest quality of his life. They knew him to be a manipulator, but nobody knew him to be a fighter. Nobody knew him to be a wrestler. Nobody knew him to be a contender. They knew how he would get over on people, but they didn't understand there was something inside of him that did not bear witness with the labeling that people had given them. And I prophesy over your life right now in the name of Jesus that God is about to remove the labels from your life. He's about to pull the tag off the back of the shirt. It makes no difference what people have to say. It makes no difference where you have come from. But God is about to change your name. He's protecting for your future. And it makes no difference of the angel that comes. It's only know that God came down. And when he came down, he came to give you a new social security number. He came to give you a new identity. He came to give you a new purpose. Stop kicking against the bricks. Stop fighting against your future. Stop fighting against the thing and the place that God has called you to go into. Begin to alleviate and rid yourself of the fear, the doubt, the offense, the insecurity that's stopping forward progress in your life. He's raising you up. He's blessing you so that you can go in and possess the land. Over my time, the Bible says that as the angel gave Jacob a new name, Jacob said, "What is your name?" The angel replied, "You don't even know my name." And he blessed him there. The blessing came once identity was established. Listen to me when I tell you this, lift your hands. Jacob never found out the name of the angel. But with a new identity, he had enough sense to rename the place. Listen to me. There's going to be a newfound significance that you have, not just for who you are, but where you are. Lift your hands this morning. I want you to begin to lift up not just your name. God's about to change geographically certain things in your life, certain things in this house, certain things in this church, and he's going to give it a new name. Now listen to me. Listen to what the name is. The Bible declares that Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, "It is because I saw God face to face, and my life was spared." This was a very prophetic statement, because he wasn't just talking about his heartbeat life. He was talking about his identity. He was talking about who he knew he was the entire time. We can be living up under labels. We can be living up on pretenses. We can be living up under certain thoughts and premonitions from our past and what people have said about us and what we've done and the mistakes that have happened in our life. And we can begin to shape out our identity. We can begin to shape out our behavior patterns. We can begin to move in it. We can begin to talk in it. But deep down inside of us, we know that we're better than what life is presenting us. I want you to lift your hands. Because God's about to change not just your name. He's going to begin to change the place of your worship. He's going to begin to change the place of your heart, the throne of your heart, the seat of your heart. He's about to take some things off and put some things on. I want you to lift your hands, Father, right now in the name of Jesus. Our heart's desire and our prayer is to please you. Our heart's desire is that you change our place of worship. Our heart's desire is that we go from one state to another. We speak about our place of worship. It's not just about a building. It's not just about a church, Lord God. It's about our hearts. It's about our minds. It's about our focus. Father, change our focus. Change our understanding. Change our wisdom. Change our mindsets, Lord God. We pledge our allegiance to the new. Change our names and our identity today, Lord God. you begin to